welcome back. We are here with Jake Otterson from Otterson Contracting in Toledo, Ohio. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing amazing. It's great to chat with you. We always have amazing conversations. So you have grown a contracting business to 6 figures plus in Toledo, Ohio. How did all of this start?
Basically, it started. What's funny is it was pre-COVID, so it was 2000, roughly. I'd say probably about halfway through 2019 is when I kind of got the fire under my butt about it a little bit, and then I was like, all right, I want to do something. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I started dabbling in other stuff, like I did some drop shipping and all kinds of other stuff like that, and that just has its own thing. It didn't end up necessarily working out the best, so ended up I was in construction already, pretty good at it. Decided that I was like, okay, I could definitely do something with this. Went to the guy that I was working for at the time and was like, what do you think? He said, if anybody's gonna do it, I think you should do it. And so I was like, all right, literally helped him finish up what he had and got the business and just went out and kind of just started doing it. And then it was funny because COVID hit. So I technically started my company in December of 2019, and then 2020 COVID happened March-ish of 2020. So I ended up from there basically actually getting a lot more work, and I got in with these big contracts and everything else because everybody wanted to sit at home. Well, I was like, I just started a company, I can't just sit at home. So I ended up going around and getting some good builders and everything else, and kind of just took off from there. So.
And you worked with builders, right?
Yeah, yep.
And how did they have an impact on your success now?
A lot of them are huge. So now that's where it gets funny because some of them are great, were awesome. I mean, I got a couple builders that I worked for. I don't want to drop any names, but they were incredible. I mean, they made me a lot of money. They still to this day make me a lot of money. But then I had some builders that were horrible. I mean, they were an absolute nightmare where, they expected you, they basically, we always make the joke that I was sitting at home doing nothing, waiting for them to call. So they'd call me on a Monday and tell me, I need you here on Tuesday. And I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. And then I was the bad guy for it.
Yeah.
So both sides of it were great and bad. But I mean, I definitely would say I had more of the good than the bad. So.
And you mentioned that you also started multiple businesses before the contracting business. Why contracting versus the other businesses?
Honestly, at the end of the day, contracting is just what worked for me. I tried, like I said, I did drop shipping. I did a couple other things, and then I noticed that I started doing side work for the contracting stuff. So I'd have you guys called me and you're like, hey, I need something done, whatever. And I was like, all right, I can definitely take care of that for you. And then I'd come do it, and we do it in the afternoons and the evenings and weekends and stuff like that. And kind of realized I was good at it. And then I started seeing real money from it, and that's what really kind of did it. I guess the easy answer to that is it really made me the most money more than anything else did. So, and I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, and I think the construction world has it's very difficult to succeed. Why do you think you succeeded versus someone else?
A big part of it was I always make the joke construction's kind of it's got its boys club or whatever. Everybody, we kind of have our own. I don't know. There's a group of us that all know what we're doing in Toledo, and then there's everybody else, and that's a mean way to say it, but it's kind of true. And so I was lucky enough and fortunate. Like I said, the guy that I worked with at the time actually I was already in that little group, you know what I mean? And then definitely helped that I would go out to do a job for him, and then I would talk to all these builders. And I would never be like, hey, use me instead or anything like that, but I would 100% make sure they knew who I was, if that makes sense. So when I ended up going out on my own, I talked to Jeremy, that's who it was, and he was like, yeah, go out on your own, do your own thing, whatever. And I was like, I just won't step on your toes or whatever. He said, honestly, I like to build houses now anyway, so you want tile, take the tile. So that's when I could call those builders and stuff then and be like, hey, you know who I am, let me come do your stuff. And they were like, all right, great. Now we lost, because a lot of them lost Jeremy. And so then I could kind of slide in and do it that way. So that actually worked out nicely.
That's awesome. And when it comes the networking, with you meeting them and talking to them, was there anything special you did, or did you just kind of just have a conversation and they liked you?
Yeah, it was really, it's hard to say, especially now thinking back, but nothing that was out of the ordinary. One thing that I was told a lot that got me a lot of work, and this was by builders, by people that I did on my own and everything, was I would show up to the meetings, I would go to the meetings, I'd bid the meetings. I basically just did everything you were supposed to do with it, you know what I mean, that you would think. And everybody's like, well, that's easy. And even now it gets tricky because, you got 700 things going on all the time. And you're like, oh, do I really got to go to this 20-minute meeting? But that 20-minute meeting is going to save you in the long run. So I absolutely think, I don't think anything crazy. I just think it was just kind of doing the part, playing your part and doing the right stuff.
And if you could give one piece of advice to someone that is trying to start a construction business, what would that be?
Make sure you love it, honestly, and not even love it. Make sure I always say it's like kind of as a joke. You got to love it or you got to be good at it. You got to do one or the other. I am lucky enough to be. I like to think good at it, and then I actually do enjoy it too, which helps a lot. But yeah, I think you have to love it or be good at it. Ideally, both.
Is there any trade secrets that you could kind of share to them?
Nothing really. Like I said, I think the biggest one we kind of touched on already was basically construction's kind of. It's a lot of older guys. It's a lot of, the ones that you want to work for are a lot of older guys. They're old fashioned, everything else. So don't try to reinvent the wheel when you do it. Like when you're trying to do stuff, there's things that have worked for 100 years that are still going to work for another 100 years. And I think you should just stick to it. Too many kids want to come in, and I'm a kid, but like real kids want to come in and they want to like try to reinvent the wheel with this. Well, I got these great ideas, and then they're great, but then you got to learn how to, I guess, do both. But really, it's just a lot of don't reinvent the wheel. Understand that you're going to be working around a lot of grumpy old men, honestly, and just do your job, and that's what everybody loves about it. So.
And what differentiates Otterson Contracting versus another construction business?
I show up on time, honestly, is the biggest thing. It's so weird that I say that, but like when I say I'm going to start this job on Tuesday the 8th, I show up on Tuesday the 8th, and if I for some reason can't, I'm very like open and everything else. You'd be amazed at the amount of people that do this for a living, and they kind of just have the meh mentality, which never works. I mean, it just does. I mean, it works for some people, but the people you want to work for, it doesn't really work for. So, I do a lot of realtors and stuff like that too, and that's a big part of it is just show up on time, do the job that you're supposed to do, and don't reinvent the wheel. You'll be fine.
I like that. And with all the success that you've had with that, what wakes you up in the morning?
Everything. I have drove out to jobs at midnight because I was scared I left a window open and it was supposed to rain that night. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. Don't get me wrong. You do. I mean, I do plumbing. We end up doing a lot of different stuff. Our shower is a great example. A lot of tile, and when you do like a custom shower, you want to make sure that thing doesn't leak. If that thing is leaking, obviously it's a giant deal.
Yeah.
So just the goofy stuff, I think, more than anything, kind of keeps me up at night. And we've had our issues. We've had, luckily not too many of them, but we've had like goofy stuff happen, and it always works itself out. I don't think there's really ever a reason that should keep me up at night, but it's basically just all the goofy stuff.
Yeah. And we also talk about like Gary Vee a lot.
Yeah.
And you're a huge fan.
Yep.
As well as me. How has he positively impacted your life?
Dude, I wouldn't have started this without him. And that sounds so weird, but like he was like he was a podcast that I would listen to every single day, especially through like the year of like 2019, I think. I was like super heavy into him. And that was kind of when he was still Gary Vee. Like nowadays, he kind of is still, like he still is very Gary Vee, but he's like a little bit more corporate-esque kind of side of it, you know what I mean? Back then, he was still doing like trash talk and everything else. Like he'd run around and like do all that goofy stuff. That kind of stuff made him, like he was good at like kind of make a little bit of money and then make a lot of money, you know what I mean? And so that helped a lot. And then just the whole, just go do it, dude. Just every single day. I mean, he's in my ear 300 times a day. Just go do it. Just go do it. You know what I mean? So finally, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go do this thing, and that was honestly huge.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I mean, he was the reason why I created content, because in your ear for a whole year, make content, go do it. So I think I had the same experience as well. And we also talk about surrounding ourselves with not only positive people, but people that are wanting to see us succeed and wanting to see us win. How important do you think that is to succeeding?
Absolutely crucial. I mean, you can't hang around with a whole bunch of losers and expect not to be a loser. I mean, that's the mean way to put it, but it's honest. I don't think you can, I think that's 100% imperative to the whole like equation of everything. Is you have to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. They don't even have to think exactly like, you and me, I'm sure have had our disagreements, and I mean, I've had my disagreements with 100 other people that are still great friends, but at the end of the day, we're all very like money focused and positive mindset, I guess is the word I'm looking for, focused on all that kind of stuff, opposed to like, I would never text you and say, Easton, I woke up and I don't want to go to work today.
Yeah.
Dude. You'd be like, bro, just go to work. What are you doing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think it's absolutely huge. So I don't think you can do it without it, honestly. No. I think you got to have people that are like you, at least to an extent, and then that also help push you. I think that's another, like, the problem is, and this is, again, kind of mean, the problem is when you get hooked up with losers, then you can just complain and cry to these friends that you call friends all the time, and they don't do anything to help you. They just like, oh yeah, it's okay, it'll be
Yeah.
okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. Like, no, it's not okay. Don't stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like where you and me get along really well, where I'm like, what do you think about this? You're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, okay, that's what I needed. Thank
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? That saves you. It saves you so much time and so much energy in the long run. So I think it's absolutely crucial to have people that are at least like-minded around you.
And for someone that's looking to change their circle and really step into a new environment, what would you say to them?
Just go find people. Like there are so many. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can find people or friends or whatever. I mean, you look at you can. And now a little bit more than before, but like you can literally get on somebody's Facebook. Like, yeah, Facebook has everything.
Yeah.
You can get on somebody's Facebook and kind of look at 4 comments of what they said or whatever, and kind of feel out whether you think that you should be around them or whether you shouldn't. You know what I mean? And that's a big part of it. Like I think it's not super hard to go find people. I also believe in like the law of attraction, where I think if you are positive, you put a lot of positivity out, positive people in general just kind of come to you. You know what I mean? So I think I don't think I don't have a great answer on like go to this and do this, but like I think you can honestly just kind of feel people out a little bit and just really fast make the decision quick. You know what I mean? If you're like, okay, this kid's just a complete and total loser, just all right, you don't even have to cut them off, but just like, hey, I'm not going to hang out with you 17 times this week, and I think that's completely okay.
Yeah. And you also got into fasting recently.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
I did it once, and honestly, it was the biggest love-hate relationship I've ever had in my entire life. Like, I love what it is about, 100%. I think it's awesome. I think it is, like, you get into the science behind it and everything else. Like I said, do 10 minutes of research on it, and you'll be like, holy crap, that's crazy. I also think it's extremely difficult. I don't think, like, it's for the weak-hearted people at all. Like, I think it, like, is, like you said, you're like, dude, just wait till, like, 5, 6 o'clock at night, like, dinner time, and it was sure as snot, dude. I don't know, like I said, about 5, 6 o'clock at night, it was just a banana. Like I'm starving.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, it's a weird, because like you're super hungry, but you're not like dying. You know what I mean? But then like the next morning you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm kind of dying now. You know what I mean? That's funny. We're like, no, I got to stick out. At least got to get the 24 hours. So you stick it out, and then I haven't done a lot longer, but definitely towards the end of the 24 hours, it started to get better. And I know you've done it a lot more, and I'm sure it gets even better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You kind of get better at it and everything else, but it's tricky. I love what it's about, though. I mean, honestly, it's huge. Like I think. Like we just had the conversation about food. Just do 10 minutes of research on what you put into your body, and you can't pronounce 90% of it. Why are you eating it? And there's a kid I watch on YouTube and stuff or whatever, but he says, how do you expect to just put motor oil into your body all the time and then be fine? This is not how it works, and that's unfortunately what we all do all the time now. So I think fasting is huge on helping all that stuff.
And what sparked you to really start looking into those ingredients?
You were a big part of it, like, and then other people though too. But like, kind of just the same, kind of like the same thing we just talked about. How like there's a lot of different people that think the way you think, and then you kind of start just following suit a little bit. It takes 4 seconds to turn around and look at the Cheez-It box at Kroger and go, what the heck is this? And then the fact that, I mean, one thing I'm huge on that I think everybody needs to stop is the bioengineered food. That is insane. It's literally cancer. You're just eating cancer. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. There's no reason that should be in anything, and there's no reason that like you should eat it at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest one, that I'm like anti bioengineered food. And then you get crazy and get into sugars and everything else. But I think it wasn't hard. I mean, like I said, you do 5 minutes of research, kind of figure out what you got going on. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's not good for me at all. So,
And I think even for myself, like you think that you're eating healthy. You're like, oh, I'm going to Chipotle, or I'm going to this plant-based place, but they cook it in soy, or they cook it in canola oil. And you're like, wow, I'm actually not eating as healthy as I thought I was. And then you turn around the coffee creamer and you're like, what have I been putting in my coffee for the past 10 years? I think when you really start to question it, it's like, wow, like what is really going on here?
absolutely. And I agree 100%. And then like So actually, pop was a big one. Like I stopped drinking pop. I felt like crap all the time. Like it was weird. Like I said, I started running and everything. I started working out and stuff again. And then so I felt like crap. I mean, it was terrible. And then I would feel like crap for like 2 days. And I was kind of like, what the heck's going on? So like then I started doing a little bit of research and stuff. And pop is just like the devil. Like don't drink pop. Just stay away from it. And then like you said, that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of like everything else. Because even pop has 17 different ingredients in it I've never heard of. I mean, I don't think anybody here really has. And so, and then like you said, then you fall down the rabbit hole of, okay, now I'm going to go out to eat. And you can only imagine what they're putting in that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just, it was a rough one. But it was like kind of like a wake-up call more than anything. And that was huge. And I think once you kind of have that wake-up call, it kind of just sits, like now it just sits in the back of my mind. Every time I buy something in the store, I just glance. You know what I mean? I'm just like, again, 4 seconds of my life, I'm just going to check. And if it has bioengineering in it, every single time I put it back. I'm not as crazy about like everything. I just haven't got baby steps, I guess, more than anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to just go straight gung-ho, but I mean, it's wild. I mean, it is insane, some of the stuff they put. I would love to give examples. I don't even know how to pronounce half the stuff, so it's a disaster.
Oh, and I think the baby steps is the way. I mean, for me, I took it slow because you have to. You can't cut out everything at once. You just take it slow. And I have 2 more questions.
Yep.
If you could have dinner with 2 people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Interesting. That's a good one. I guess it depends on what I was, I guess, doing. I can get like kind of sentimental with it. Where like one person I'd really like to talk to is my grandpa, who passed away a while ago, and that's from the past. So he passed away, and I'd really love to just talk with him about kind of. He had a lot of health issues and everything else, and I'd love to sit down and just like jazz about the food he was eating and everything else. You know what I mean? Just to see, because I think once you go through all this crap, I mean, he died at like 75 years old, right? And maybe even, he might have been 80 something, whatever. He died, and it was funny how nobody said anything about his food until he was probably 75 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, what the heck? And so, where, like I said, how do you expect to pump your body full of motor oil and then, do that kind of stuff or survive happily?
Yeah.
But, so he would be a good one for the past. I mean, there's other people, but he's definitely a good one. And then, now I feel like I pretty much do just sit down with somebody that I want to talk to. If it was anybody in the world, there's actually a guy that I don't think we've talked about him, Luke Belmar.
Yeah.
I love him. He's awesome. He's just, I would love to just pick his brain for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Just about, like, because he's 10 times deeper into this than I am, and he's not even into health. I mean, he's got a lot of money and other stuff, and yada yada yada. But he actually made all his money drop shipping, and but then he got super weird about health and was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna look into this a little bit better. So he would be another one that I would love to kind of pick his brain about, because one thing, like, I'm really good at a lot of stuff, but the health thing is tricky. I mean, because it's like all like a big giant scam. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like corporations are just like scamming you and just like pump your body full of this crap, and then you start doing the real research. You understand that half the pharmaceutical companies are the ones doing the ads and everything. You're just like, okay, what's going on here? So like Nestle supplies all the like, yeah, it's okay to be super like obese and literally everything. Like, and whatever, I'm not getting into that, but it's just like, if Nestle's doing the background, I don't know, why do I trust that at all? So because they're just trying to sell more food at the end of the day. So he's one that I'd love to sit down, just pick his brain for. Give me 10 minutes with him. Just be like, all right, tell me the secrets. You know what I mean?
I like that. And I have one more question. Why did you decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
It just makes sense. I don't have, there was no reason to say no, really, more than anything. You guys help gas up my company and everything I'm about. I trust you implicitly, and I know what you're about too, which helps a lot. But there's not really a huge downside to me. I mean, you bring me work, I cut them a deal, and we all move on with our lives at the end of the day. It just makes complete and total sense to me. I also love those like rewards cards and everything you get from like their pizza place and everything. You know what I mean? And that's why I did it, because I think it's huge, and I think it definitely is going to bring me business. It'll help bring you business, and we'll be able to meet in the middle, and it'll work out great. So I just didn't have a big downside to it more than anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that, by the way, as well. Well, if you have anything that you want to say to people, and how can people find you?
Okay, so the best way you can find me is Facebook, and then Yeah, totally just Facebook more than anything. I am on Google and stuff, but I'm not a giant corporation, so I can't afford
Yeah.
to like beat them out of the Google AdWords and stuff. So Google, I mean, if you Google Otterson Contracting, you can obviously find me. But Facebook is huge. I mean, Facebook is giant. So Facebook is all my information on there. You can find everything. That's definitely the best way to get a hold of me because I'm also very responsive to that. Also, OttersonContracting@gmail.com is I check my emails 37 times a day, so I'll be on there.
Yeah.
I'll always reply to you one way or another on that too. So, besides that, no, I don't necessarily have anything to tell everybody. Like I said, just eat healthy, take care of your body, take care of yourself, and just be happy. Honestly,
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jake. I appreciate it, man.
appreciate you, Easton.